We have the great pleasure of having Professor Robert Nelson to open the exhibition. Without further ado, I'll pass over to you, Robert.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm relieved that you've spared me the embarrassment of introducing me further in a place where my role is to introduce sculpture that needed even less than introducing me. So Bart's sculpture has a presence that is quite unique thanks to, I don't want to say a formula, Bart, because nothing here is formulaic, but a convention arose in modernism where forms were looked at for their potential to have something essential about them. So the program that's loosely called abstraction was never really intended to make things, to push things away from what's peculiar to an object toward something that no longer has a meaning. Instead, it was to shift the meaningful elements of things toward an abstracted state so that they would have a more essential meaning. I think this is the tradition into which Bart Sanciolo fits. He fits into it brilliantly. And, you know, sometimes his work, you'll notice that there are different types of work here because it's a project that he's pursuing that is all about inquiry. So not for him is a single style. Notice that some of the things recall the sort of statuesque properties of the Greek korai and kuroi. They have that kind of impassiveness of the ancient, you know, of archaic statuary. But equally, he will take the extreme line out of which these more figurative forms have been conceived, from which they've been conceived, and conduct the metal as if it's pencil on paper. And so we have these extraordinary shapes that not only make a gesture in form that is in itself enticing, but that embody something that is emotionally meaningful. If I could take an example of the sculpture here, the sospiro, Bart calls it. So that's the Italian word for a sigh. So I don't know what pathology causes us to sigh, but the word comes from the Latin, a breath underneath, an underbreath. So Dante observed that, like in Dolce Stil Nuovo, bless you, can't we collectively sigh for that glass? Dante in Dolce Stil Nuovo, there was an epidemic of sighing. So the poets always referred to their emotional condition through the sigh. And this sigh that comes from the heart. And they often refer to the sort of the pressure, the angoscia. It's a breath that's caused by anxiety. And typically that anxiety was caused by not knowing that the love that I have for my lady, let's say, is reciprocated, is returned. So without the return, there is this kind of pressure in the lung that is the sigh. So that it comes from somewhere and it goes nowhere. It evaporates. It passes into the atmosphere. What does this sculpture do? And with this tensile quality of the metal, you know, like about to lose its mineral quality, as if entertaining the other element of the gaseous, the vapour, with this wriggle that it does. It goes nowhere. The sigh expires. This is exactly the sort of sentiment that those poets from the 13th century right through to the Baroque were obsessed with the sigh. So I think you'll find all of these works a little bit like that. They're evocative. And this is the great paradox of an art that takes the method of abstraction, that we pare away, that we develop, as Bart has done, this svelte partiality, that you say that the form is not all of that, it's just this, that reduction that will suffice, and that promotes some aspect of it into this kind of universality that is emotionally shared, that one senses, my goodness, there's an idea there. So, ladies and gentlemen, when I first saw the work, I sighed. And I sigh for the artist who, heavens, I hate to think how many sighs he and Mrs. Sanciolo have gone through creating this sort of work over decades. And this is what you're seeing here is the outcome of what? 2 years? Couldn't be fewer. Could not be fewer. I mean, it would take me many more than 2 years to come up with the drawing for one of them. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have here the outcome of many worthy sighs, and unlike the sigh, it does return into something statuesque and noble. Ladies and gentlemen, it's with great pleasure that I formally declare this sighable exhibition open. Thank you, Bart.
Thank you, Robert. I'm not going to respond to what Robert has said because he's a man of words and I'm a man of object, I suppose. But I do appreciate what you've expressed, and I'm amazed at how well you've encapsulated the whole concept of my work. So thank you for that. In thanking, of course, Robert, I also wish to thank Michael and Marianne. And of course, I do thank all of you as being attendees here. There's one other person, actually two more people that I need to thank specifically. The first one Robert mentioned, my wife, my better half. My muse, my friend, my patron, my supporter. So thank you, Anne. And there's also another person that helped me actually organise the mechanical part of bringing this show together here, and that's my dear friend Sonny Dullingmore. Thank you very much, Sonny. Your help, like I said to Anne when I got home, I said, look, I just don't know how to thank you. Thank you very much for all you've done for me. And so in closing my response to you, Robert, again, I thank you, and I thank each and every one of you, and I do hope that you get the chance of seeing the work and enjoying seeing it. And if you have the opportunity of coming back with fewer people around, that might be another way of moving around more freely, perhaps. So thank you, and thank you, Michael and Marianne, and thank you, Robert.
Thank you.
Bravo,
Yes.
bravo.
Thank you. There's also one other. While everyone's here today as well, I'd like to thank Peter from Supaz Winery for the...
Yes, sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to say that. No, thank you, Peter and Virginia. The wine you're drinking, by the way, comes from the most gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous boutique winery up in Sylvan in the Yarra Ranges. And it is very, very special. And I'm very fortunate to have the support of Peter, even in this, because he's helped in lots of other ways throughout the last 30 years or so that I've known him. So thank you again, Peter, specifically to you.
And the wine is ottimo.
The So thank you for the wine. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Thank you everyone again for coming this afternoon, and please spend a bit more time around this beautiful exhibition of Bart's. Thank you again.